Hello students, we are going to begin a unit on student-led IEPs. As you see right here above me, we're going to be talking about student-led IEPs. This is where the student, that being you, takes a very active role in their own IEP. So let's talk a little bit more about this. Let's get this out of the way. And let's do this. Now, so as we think about the IEP, it really and truly, as it says here on the screen, it's really just about making choices. You taking an active role in your education, and a student-led IEP is simply where you follow an agenda and you do what in the past perhaps the teacher did, but you follow an agenda and you go over the things that should happen, that you want to happen in your IEP, in your education program. So, again, it's really about just simply making choices. All right, well, let's look at a few more things here. The first thing I want to talk about is simply this. What does IEP stand for? Well, it stands for an Individualized Education Program. As you can see, we have one little blue dot among all these little white dots, and that is just a visual to remind you that an IEP is individualized. It's what is best for you. So because it is individualized, one of the ways to really ensure that the best thing for you is done in the meeting, the best way to ensure that is simply for you to take an active role in your own IEP. All right, well, let's move on. Talk about a few things. Let's talk about some of the first steps that you need to take when you are doing your own IEP. One of the most important things is introductions. When you're introducing, you need to be able to introduce yourself. And you need to be able to introduce the people who will be in the IEP. Usually you will have a couple of teachers there, usually a regular education teacher and a special education teacher. There should be an administration representative, usually that's a principal, someone like that. And parents can be there as well. So, and of course, you are there. So anyway, the very first thing I want to talk about, though, is the most important thing when we're talking about this is these introductions. So when you hold your own IEP, when you are taking an active role as the student, you need to be able to introduce yourself. And, that's simply a matter of, now, I know you may say, well, everybody knows who I am anyway. There's no need for me to introduce myself, but it is a good gesture. It shows that you are in charge if you simply introduce yourself. And then once you've done that, introduce the people around the table. That's something that you can do. So let's move on. So after you have done that, what is something else that you should do? And let's move to our next point here, which is we're going to state the purpose of the meeting. Well, this is an IEP. Again, that's an individualized education program. And as you'll notice here on the screen, when you state the purpose of the meeting is right here. We are here to talk about my education. So if you're holding your own IEP, if you are a student and you're leading your own IEP, I think a really good statement to make. Now, you could put this in your own words, but you should say something to the effect that, we are here to talk about my education and my future and my goals and my accommodations and modifications. So it is really and truly about you, and so you should be very forceful, not in a mean way, but you should be forceful in that this is what needs to happen for me to have a good education. So again, state the purpose of the meeting. All right, well, let's move on to our next point. Now, as we think about the IEP, one of the most important things that we talk about in IEPs is a vision for the future. And as we think about a vision for the future, it is your life. What do you want to happen in your life? Well, here's some of the things that you need to talk about. We need to talk about your career. What do you want to do once your formalized education is over? Do you want to go to college? Do you want to go to a technical school? Do you want to go right out into the work world and get a job? What do you want to do career-wise? So that's something to keep in mind. The next thing is family. Yes, even in an IEP meeting that's supposed to be about your education, your family goals should be part of that as well. All right, let's move on. And as you'll notice, housing, where are you going to live? That's a very important question that everyone needs to ask themselves. There's a lot of people who, when they answer that question, what they come up with is, they would like to live on their own. Well, if that's the case, there are certain things that you need to do to prepare yourself to be ready for moving out and moving away from your parents into your own place. So, and really and truly, that should be part of your IEP. All right, well, let's move on. And the last thing here is transportation. How are you going to get around? That's an important question that you need to answer. Will you be able to drive, or will you take advantage of public transportation? So all of these things should be, as we think about an IEP and think about the vision for the future, we should consider all these things: career, family, housing, and transportation. All right, now a real important part of an individualized education program is goals. We pick 5 or 6 goals at the very most. That's probably plenty for 1 year, and they need to be very specific. And these are the things, again, that you'll be working toward during the year. By the way, an IEP lasts for about 12 months. That's the normal time. Now, it can be updated. You can do addendums to it, but normally an IEP will last about a year. All right. Well, let's see here. Let's see what we have under goals. In the IEP, as it says here, we do set goals and we measure those goals. You've probably seen something in an IEP before that talks about if you do something 4 out of 5 times, or it'll give a percentage such as 80% or 90% or maybe even 100%. It'll give a percentage of what it takes to measure your success. If you can do this with 80% accuracy, if you can do it with 90% accuracy, then you have met your goal. And that's what we have here on the screen. All right, so let's move on now to accommodations and modifications. Accommodations and modifications is simply a way to answer this question. Every single person learns in a different way. And as you'll notice here on the screen, the main question is, I learn best when I can either see it, when I can hear it, when I can do it, or when I can talk about it. And there are other ways too, but those are the main ways. So when we think about accommodations and modifications, we think about, number one, am I a visual learner? Some people do much better when they can see a picture, see a concept, see it in picture form. And if that's the case, in your IEP, there needs to be some sort of mention of the use of either pictures or the use of visuals or the use of graphics, because that is the way that you learn best. Now, there are other people who, as you'll notice over here, who, when it comes to learning, they're much better what we call auditory learners. They learn best when they can hear something. So these are the people who we will do read-alouds for, and they will listen very intently, and they will learn because that is the best way for them. That's not the only way, though. There are people who simply learn by doing things. They're told to do a particular task. They do the task. As they're doing the task, they learn about it, and they learn best by simply using their hands and actually doing something. Again, that's something that should be included in accommodations and modifications in an individualized education program. There are many other accommodations and modifications, but one other one I will mention has to do with simply talking about things and engaging in conversation, whether it be in a group discussion with the class, or whether it be in a small group discussion, or whether it be just turning to a neighbor, someone who's seated beside you, and talking about the concept that was just covered. Okay, this ends my short video presentation on individualized education programs. So we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.